here are the types of graphs. And I'm going to run through these really quick because you already know most of these. Okay, so the bar graph is the one that you're probably the most familiar with, and it's very simple. You've dealt with it a long time. We've dealt with circle graphs some today, or some in this year, and you've probably seen them before. Line graphs, frequency tables, line plot, otherwise known as a dot plot. If it is a line graph, they put X's. If it's a dot plot, they put little dots. It's the same thing. They truly are the exact same graph or show of data. And then stem and leaf, we talked about that on Tuesday. So, I'm going to quickly run down through kind of the purposes and the uses of each of these graphs to kind of help you out. And you're going to take a quiz on this on Thursday. So, and it won't be a very hard quiz, but it will be just pretty much what are each one of these used for. Okay, and I removed it from my thing just for ease of writing for yours, but alright, so the bar graph, the one you're probably the most familiar with, is really good. It's used to compare data, and it's usually quantities. And gotta give me a second because y'all know I'm not a speller. Okay, quantities are numbers, obviously, but it's usually non-number things. So the labels are non-number things. Like, I would do a bar graph for how many people or what kind of pets people have in this classroom. Some could say mice and birds and dogs and cats and guinea pigs. Alright, all of those things that we labeled are non-numbers. So these tend to have non-number labels. These are numbers, these are showing how much to compare them with, but this bottom, the X, is usually non-number. So the labels are non-number, so I'd say the X-axis tends to be non-numbered, okay? So they tend to be, what's your favorite class? Science, history, whatever. And then you can tell me how many people like science the most, how many people liked Texas history the most, or social studies, or PE, or whatever, okay? So it's used to compare data, but the X values tend to be non-number. Alright, time, or line graphs are all about time, okay? So this is used to compare data over time. Okay, so things that you look for are when you're talking about years or hours. Those are both times. Or minutes, and I'm going to abbreviate. Or seconds or decades. So if you're dealing with time of any sort, years, hours, minutes, seconds, decades, centuries, we're going to be dealing with a line graph. So it's going to say, you know, how a business product gets better over time, or how many they sell over time. Okay, so this tends to be a number or a year. Okay, or I mean a time element, so not just years, but so change over time. Okay, then the next one, the line plot, is going to be this is really good. We talked about this the other day. This is really good to show mode and range. but particularly mode. We can always pick out mode with dot plots and line graphs because it's always the tallest. So it's really easy to find for mode. Okay, so that we've already talked about this one a lot, so I'm not going to write much more, but realize it's good for mode and range, but particularly mode. And that line plots and dot plots are the exact same thing. Okay, now let's go back up to circle graphs. Circle graphs are always comparing data to a whole. Alright, so what that means is you have percentages. Okay? So whenever you have a circle graph, you're talking about part to whole, and you're usually having to find a percent. Okay? So anytime you use a circle graph, or anytime they talk about percentage, you're going to be needing a circle graph. Alright. Frequency tables. Okay, these are very helpful. They are used to graph information, or an experiment that is repeated. So it means happens over and over and over and over and over again. Okay, so it's for things that we've used it a lot with probability, and you probably used it in science experiments or experiments in general. Okay, so experiments in general. So you're looking for anything that repeats over and over and over again. What was the probability of rolling a dice if you did it 100 times? That's that 100 times is that repeated part. Or a science experiment. If you tested this same sample 100 times, again, it's that 100 times, that repeated part of it, that makes a frequency table very useful. Remember, also with frequency tables, you hash 4 and then you do a line for every 5. So it should be easy to count up. Every time you see a slash mark, that's 5. So you can count by 5, 10, and then the extra 2 is 12. That's how tally marks work. Alright, stem and leaf is another one that is really good for comparing. If I can open it. It's good, used to organize large amounts of data. So large amounts. But also, you can good for mode and range. But this one particularly range, because you always can easily see the smallest number and the largest number. And remember, this is 65, this is 1. So it's always easy to see the range, but it's for large amounts of data. Dat plots, once you get past like 25 things, it starts all blending together and it's hard to see. This, you have tons of numbers and you can see it quickly. And it organized it. It puts it in least to greatest just naturally. Okay? So make sure yours should already be glued in. I did a different one. But we are going to take a quiz on this. So remember, anytime you see a percentage, it's a circle graph. Anytime you're dealing with time, it's a line graph. Anytime you're repeating things, it's a frequency table. Whenever you are trying to find mode, use a dot plot. If you have large amounts of data, use a stem and leaf. And the bar graph is one of those good catch-alls, but they don't have to both be numerical things. Okay? So that is your quick review on types of graphs. All right. Bye, guys.